Hi there, and welcome back to my sewing room. I'm Nicola, and this is Stitches and Slapdashery. I've made quite a few squares for the granny pants. So before I show you what I was going to start with, I'll just start with this. Here they are. They're really quick to make, and I've been listening to Fourth Wave, and I can't remember the author's name. You've probably heard of that book on audiobook. So I've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 16 out of the proposed 36 squares for my granny pants. So we'll see how those work out. Once I get to 36, I'll lay them out and see how it's going to look when they're put together. I think I was going to do a crochet join on these, but I don't want them to be any bigger than this when they're finished. So what I might end up doing is a mattress stitch join. That's not decided yet. So that's in progress. Another thing I want to do, and I'm going to tackle this today, it's not going to be fun, I don't think, but I made this bag some time ago. It looks kind of complicated, but it isn't. So if you imagine, oh, I've got some of those little bags somewhere. Hang on a minute. Well, I just went and had a rummage around, and I looked for some of those little pyramid bags that I had sewn out of quilt cotton years ago. I made a nice little set of itty bitty one up to a bigger one, a couple of sizes in between. I can't find them. But basically, if you imagine a regular bag, it has a zipper across the top, side seams, and a seam across the bottom. So the only difference with a bag like this, to get that 3D triangular shape, is you have your side seams, you have your thing across the bottom, and instead of doing a zipper straight across this way, you flatten it and you do the zipper that way. It makes more sense when you actually do it. So I made it up because I had seen a similar thing on, I think he's called Proper Fit Clothing Company. He did something similar with that shaped bag, but rather than follow his tutorial, I did my own idea to get a similar result. And I used a really fun zipper on it, which is colourful. But look what happened. I got the zipper in a bag of, not used ones, but a bag of zippers that a friend was destashing when she moved house. And I thought, oh, that's lovely, that'll be perfect. Well, not long after I started using this bag, a tooth came out. And whilst it still does do up and close, that didn't make sense. While it does open and close, there's a little hitch where that gap is, and it doesn't look nice. It doesn't look as nice anymore. So I put up with that for a while. I carried on using the bag, and I did put up with it for a while. It's got a fun lining, and I did put slip pockets inside on both sides. But the straps were done in such a way that I could wear it as a backpack. I used this nice blue webbing, and I used 1-inch swivel hooks. Now, unfortunately, they weren't very heavy duty 1-inch swivel hooks, but that's what I had. It's annoying, actually. I did a big order from Amazon for a pack of hardware, and it had the hooks, the D-rings, the sliders, and something else. And maybe it was magnetic snaps. And the lobster claws, swivel clasps, whatever you want to call them, are really lightweight. I have a couple of heavy duty ones, but if I buy them locally at the fabric shop, they're really expensive. And I needed 4 for this bag because what I did was I put D-rings at every corner. So there were D-rings here and here, and then on the bottom 2 corners. So I could adjust the configuration of the straps and make it into either a crossbody bag or a backpack. And so my straps needed to be completely detachable and have a hook on each end. So look what happened with this one. That's what it's supposed to look like. And that's what that one looks like. It just completely sheared off. It didn't break at the swivelly part. It wasn't the little piece, the little lever that holds it closed. It was the whole top of the hook just broke right off. I have a spare. I have a few spares actually, but I thought today I might reverse sew this bag and attempt to put a new zipper in it without making too much of a mess. I have this zipper in the stash. It's a lighter blue than I would like, but it's about the right length. It's a 16-inch. I do have a black zipper that's the same weight as this one, but it's really long, and rather than use the longer one, I'm going to try this one. So that's the plan. Yeah, I don't want to just like throw this out or waste it or just keep struggling on with it. And it would be a good bag to take on holiday with me in December. It's practical, it's roomy, it's not summery, so it goes well with a winter coat. And I can carry it around hands-free. Yeah, so it looks like I'm going to be having a little bit of fun with my seam ripper this afternoon. Ooh, feels like it's dark down here. 4 o'clock and cloudy outside, and it'll be dark soon. I didn't put my overhead light on in here. All I have is my ring light on up there. I feel like I'm in a cave. Well, I think that probably took me an hour and a half. I'm not sure. But I managed to do it. So I had to unstitch one of these straps so that it could have a new swivel clasp on. And then I replaced my zipper. It's far from perfect. It's so much harder to mend something like that and to put it in or replace it after the fact than to do it from new. Unpicking is always a nightmare as well. So it took me a while to figure out how to put the zipper, the new one, in such a way that it was in correctly, because I was turning the lining and the outer every which way until I figured it out. Anyway, it's done. Because the top stitching was done with the bag already intact over here, it doesn't go all the way to the ends. Because of the bulk of the zipper ends being attached to tabs, I could only top stitch about there to there. But I think this zipper will last longer than the other one. The other one is pretty and decorative, but I think that the plastic teeth on it are probably a little brittle, or it could have just been an old zipper because it was coming out of somebody else's stash. I don't know how long she'd had it for. I suppose these things can get brittle. This one, on the other hand, is strong. I don't think I'm going to bust that anytime soon. I'll just have to remember not to overload the bag so I don't break another of those swivel hooks. I think I'll start using that straight away. The fluffy pink bag that I've been using, it's a stretchy fabric, and I lined it with fleece, and I used curtain grommets to go around the top to make a drawstring channel. And one of the grommets has come right out of that. I used it for a couple of weeks and then it just started to fall to pieces. So I think I'm going to have to rethink that bag as well. But that won't be today. So when you see the footage of me putting together this book, it's going to be probably speeded up into music, unless I can figure out a way to put a voiceover where my first microphone decided to run out of battery. But the book is done. I'm afraid I couldn't film me doing this spine tying because I had to get my phone off the tripod and go look at Kate at the Last Homely House, a Patreon video where she recently made a book with this. She called it Japanese something or other binding. I can't remember exactly what. I made a bit of a mess up here because I accidentally put holes on this side of the backing piece. Rather than use a new sheet, I just put holes over here and decided it was good enough. There's Mrs. Slapdash for you. So there's my front cover. So what I did is I interleaved quite a lot of just plain lined paper in between the decorated ones, so I've got plenty of room to write. Some of the blank ones have rubber stamps on. This one has an envelope to slip something into. Glue hasn't really dried yet. I could have let them dry overnight and then put it all together, but I was too impatient. There's just a little bit of the music score there. And the verse, the lyrics. A little bit of knitter's graph paper, and then a little bit more music, and a picture cut from the sewing pattern. Yeah, it's pretty wet still. It'll dry. Little snowmen stamps. I took a couple of the plain, naturally aged pages out of the front and back of that little hardback book that I got from a thrift store years ago. Don't know what I'm going to do with that page, but it just looks nice. That was just a smaller piece, so I did stick it to a backing page. Oh, I got 2 lined pages in a row. I was trying to avoid that. Not sure about this. This took ages to stick down, and I'm not sure about it, but it's in there now, so it's not coming out again. Had to be careful with the envelopes not to have them too far over so they didn't get in the way of the spine. And then that one, I did have to trim it way down. But you can open it, and I had to glue down where I had cut them on the sides. The rubber stamps mostly worked out okay. I'm not very good at it, so some places they were messy on the edge. And out of the red, green, silver and gold ink pads, the red one didn't work at all, so it must have completely dried out. So there's my little December journal, ready to have fun with. It's a couple of days later, and I have a little time before I go out for my haircut. I'm just going to get my hairdresser to graduate the sides and the back so that they don't look as long as the top. Getting there. It's growing out. It seems to be taking a really long time because it is. I had an orthodontist appointment this week, and the girl who was a woman who was changing my wires said, "So do you want red and green elastics for Christmas?" And I'm like, I'm not usually a red and green sort of gal, but she talked me into it. And I said, okay. I said, well, what are we going to do, top or bottom? She said, we can alternate. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds like fun. So I got red and green elastics. It works on the bottom, but on the top here, she's put like a long stretch of red there. And I think it's because of what they had to do. But I know that they did put a lot of extra wire all the way along underneath the main wire, and also some extra wires up here. It's just fine tuning now. Apparently my next appointment in 3 weeks is a final check, they called it, and she said they'll be off by January or February. I was hoping Christmas, but oh well, at least there's an end in sight. Yes, it's been a bit of a week of appointments, really, because I had a chiropractic appointment as well, and my neck and shoulders are feeling so much better. They have been well cracked this week, and I'm going back again after my holiday in December, just for one more. I think that'll be it. I think 4 visits is probably enough to get me back on track. So what have I been doing? Well, these little sweaters, I showed you the 5 sweaters I made. Sure, I did show you the 5 sweaters I made. Hold on a minute. So these 5 that I made, yes, I did show you them. It was all the family's initials on the different coloured ornament size sweaters. And I made 2 red ones. I was originally going to just give these to the men as ornaments or tie them to some sort of gift. Now I'm thinking they would make a really fun garland across the fireplace. But I'd need to make a few more. I only have 2 others, and they are red, and I embellished them a little bit. So this one has a tree and some snowflakes and some bells on the bottom. These are so cute. And this one has a snowman button and some little bells on the bottom. A lot of fun to make. Very tempting to make more of those, but I feel like I have so many ideas flying around in my brain right now. I want to make more coasters. I saw some folded square coasters on my blog loving feed this morning, which look really easy and quick to make. So I might make some of those with my Christmas cotton. And I want to make more beaded stuff, and I want to do more crochet, and I want to do more of everything. This is when the crafting mojo tends to come out all at the last minute, and you're like, oh, I should just do more of this earlier in the year. Anyway, there's my little sweaters. Yesterday I did more of the granny pants squares, listening to my audiobook, so I'm not going to count them again, but this is the pile that I have now. Lots and lots of squares. So that's coming along well. The journal I made, I've started to write in it. I've started to write things that I want to do when I'm on holiday, people who I might want to give gifts to, things I want to do for Vlogmas. Yeah, so I've started using it and I'm really pleased with that. I would make something like that for somebody else, but I don't know if other people really appreciate these things. But I really like them. And then I had a little play with some beads yesterday. I got out my little bead collection. I think I said earlier in this video, it was a couple of days ago, so I have to remember that now, that I didn't have a very large bead stash. So basically, this is my bead stash. It's a rather handy little set of stacking containers that I got from work when I was working. So my new beads are in this one. Don't want to tip it too much. Probably it'll be fine. But and then I have some older beads in here, some black and some blue. And then I have all my metal attachments in here, like the split rings and the earring hooks and everything. And then I have some absolutely lovely ones in this one. Big chunky beads, seahorse ones, turtle ones. And that's it. The thing about beads is they don't take up much room, unlike yarn and fabric. So these are the things that I made. It took me ages to decide what to put together. Hang on a minute, I'm just having to make sure they're not stuck together. So this was the first pair I made. Whoop. Hopefully you can see that all right. And then I revisited some older beads that I've had for ages. I have actually got some of these for myself, and then I made another pair with these ones. I love these beads. And then I made these ones. Again, these are beads that I've had for a while. In fact, I think I've had them since last December because I made myself an advent, or may have even been 2 years ago. I made myself a little advent calendar with yarn and beads because even though it's not a complete surprise, it's a lot less expensive making your own advent. In fact, what I feel like I should do next year is bag up some stuff in January, and then I will probably have forgotten by December what I put in the bags. So there's an idea. It's an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous day today. Very bright and sunny. Woke up to it was more than a frost. I would say it was probably our first sprinkle of snow. It looked like everything had powdered sugar on it this morning. And I was going to get a quick bit of film of it. By the time I had dragged myself out of bed and gone out on the back deck, the sun had come up enough that it was too bright to really see anything, and it started melting it. So I'm afraid I didn't get any good film. I'm a bit concerned about my neighbour. There was a fire truck and an ambulance outside their house earlier today, and I saw my neighbour's mum, elderly mum, coming out on a gurney. She looked like she was awake and looking around, so not hopefully too seriously ill, but they took her off to the hospital, so I'm going to have to check in with her at some time to see what happened. I'm afraid I was just that nosy neighbour standing out on my deck for about half an hour, watching to see what was going on with my cup of coffee in my hand. It feels kind of bad, but I was concerned. I was quite upset, actually. So I think that's going to be it for this video, and it's probably long enough, and it's been a few days since I uploaded one. What's happening tomorrow? I have people coming over for tea tomorrow. Thankfully, I am well again, and the event that I postponed last week will happen tomorrow instead. Apart from that, I don't think I have a lot on, except obviously make the things. Make all the things. You know what that's like, right? Thanks for watching, and thanks for sticking with me this far. And I'll talk to you again soon.